Matt, thank
Ish.
you so much for hopping on our little podcast and talking to us two nerds today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, more than happy to.
I Jonathan and I were saying, I think the last podcast we recorded, we were saying how nice it is that, all these times that we talk to people in Discord or on Instagram in our DMs and we don't really get to know the person behind the business or behind the account, and how much we appreciate being able to have this podcast to kind of get to know these creators and business owners. So this is a really great opportunity for us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more than happy to join. I'm not. Nobody needs to see my ugly mug, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, we when we first started doing our Legends of the Tabletop, our sessions, we got in front of the camera and it was like, oh God, like that's our face all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Like, how many times do I like scratch my nose or like adjust something? And you have to just get used to it and be like, well, this is what everybody's seeing, so here I am.
Yeah, or just say
Um,
every time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Matt, with your diverse background here in business management, economics research analytics, like how did you go from all of that to Eldritch Foundry and the creation of miniatures?
Sure. So miniatures is easy. I've been playing D&D and painting minis since middle school-ish. Um, Always been something that I enjoyed. Me and my friends that I play D&D with wanted to get into Warhammer Fantasy rather than 40K.
Hmm.
And we each started buying like small units and then figured out that this is very expensive. Uh,
Yeah.
and and yeah, especially for middle schoolers. Um, and while we didn't get to play all that much Warhammer, I did fall into the pitfall of really enjoying the miniature painting side of
Mm.
things. So I've been painting minis and following Warhammer, and I had a subscription to White Dwarf for ages and ages and ages and ages. Um, and so it's something that I've always enjoyed. I did stop playing for a good while after my military service and during it, and during college, during university as well. But about how long has it been? Oh wow. Uh Over a decade ago. That is so long. I am so old.
Time flies.
So about a decade ago, a good friend roped me back into playing D&D, which also roped me back into miniature painting. I've always had the books, but I've all like never really had the chance to get back into the hobby. So he roped me back in. He started a D&D campaign, and we basically started that. Um, I've always been a nerd, basically, and about the time he roped me back, I had like I've done a lot in various fields, following my econ degree. I had started migrating into data science at the time. What now is was pretty much the precursor to what is now AI.
Mm.
And honestly, I hated it. It was an absolute nightmare. I remember sort of sitting in my car before every morning, just sort of like you can do this. It's you have kids. It's work. It's important work. It's very useful. It's everybody loves this. It's good money. Just keep at it. And
Those
every day, and I
self-motivators.
yeah, and I hated it. I was burned out. I suffered like I just couldn't handle it anymore. And at some point, I started looking around and saying, all right, so that campaign we were playing, I wanted to play a gunslinger dwarf, which is dumb, but there we are. And I wanted a mini for the campaign. And there was only one company out, like, no, there are no gunslinger dwarf mini out
Hmm.
there at all. Still, I don't think so. And there was one company that could allow you to do that, sort of a custom miniature maker. And I looked at their offering at the time. Again, remember, this is like 2016, 2017, something like that. And I was like, but their design philosophy is just so.
Mm,
I just didn't like it. And like I did the thing. I built the dwarf. I still have it somewhere. Um, and it was just this short bearded human with a gun, and that annoyed me to no end. And I said, listen, I think there's something here. I think there's room to say, all right, they're here. They've been here for a good while before us, but miniatures are like they're not insulin, right?
mm-hmm,
They're not. This is a bit of shooting myself in the leg, right? They're not needful. You don't need a miniature. You want one.
mm-hmm.
They're cool. You like to hold them, but you don't need them. You don't. You will live if you don't have them, right? Um, but at the same time, it's so integral to our hobby to be able to visualize things, to be able to think about what you're doing and sort of showcase things. And I thought that if we had a very different design philosophy, if we built something that was different than the current offering, we could play around and maybe have a good, um, you know, here's me doing the corpo speak style, so good market fit, product market fit. That's the word.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of where I started off with this. Um, and that's pretty much it. And that's how we went about things then, and that's still how we go about things now, trying to make sure that we're different, we're doing our own thing, we're not trying to compete head to head. We're just trying to do things that make tabletop players happy.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we don't need a mini. You can absolutely just have, I mean, you could use a very generic, you can use a dice and put it down on the table and just do all theater of the mind. But when I created my mini, or my character, I put so much time into my backstory and just had really specific things of her character that I wanted to include. And when I was able to actually design that and put that into my mini to see on the table, it was like that's my character.
Exactly. It's so important to be able to sort of say this is what I had in mind, or this helps me visualize what I want to look like, or helps me understand the character or connect better to it.
Yeah,
And also, it's fun. And, you know, I mean, sure, cybersecurity is important and defense, whatever, is important, and, all that, very important. But life without fun is just terrible.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
need that escapism every once in a while.
absolutely. And I think with that, I mean, let's welcome everyone to another episode here of the Parking Lot. I'm Sarah. This is Jonathan over here, and today we're super excited to welcome Matt to our podcast. He is founder and CEO of Eldritch Foundry, and talking about fun. What is more fun than being able to design a full color custom mini for your character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
I think so. I think you should think so. I hope so. I hope you agree with that. um,
Yeah, I think,
so
Matt, one of the most exciting things I've seen with Eldridge Foundry is, of course, we don't need a mini, but I probably spent 2.5 hours creating my
yeah,
Ren character for this current campaign that we're in, and
same.
being able to say to the your point where you're looking for a very specific thing. You said, I wanted a dwarf gunslinger. And to go to a game shop and look for that dwarf gunslinger is not going to happen. Nothing against, those stock character pieces that are out there. If you want to be the elf rogue, Sure, they make elf rogues because that's super popular, but it's when you want that unique character, that being able to go and make a custom mini is so exciting. My two favorite parts of my Ren character are I wanted a cleric with a warhammer, and they usually come with maces, and you have to bump up the strength a little bit to get them to be able to wield a warhammer. So I was like, that's fine. I'll sacrifice some of my other stats just so that like thematically and the mathematics of the game, she can wield a warhammer. And so when I went in there, I was looking for a warhammer, and my thought process was Harlequin, like a really skinny female that has this huge, huge weapon that's just, it's absurd. And so I was able to find that with Eldritch Foundry. And then the second thing that was like the icing on the cake for me was I wanted her to have what do we call those? The hats,
Sun
the
hat?
oversized,
Yeah,
yeah,
sun
the
hat.
oversized sun hat. And
She does.
being able to find that and place it on my mini. And it was something in the back of my head early on in the campaign because I didn't actually break it out and have her have it until like session 4 or 5. Um, but the thought process was there because I was pulling the character from a TV show that I had been watching, and I was like, I want to emulate this character. And finding those two things, I fell in love with my mini, and I wouldn't change my mini out for the world now. And in this new world of Dungeons and Dragons, where we are really, connected to our characters, and you don't want that person to die, I feel like the mini I have is going to be a part of me for a very long time. So thank you so much because it is so amazing to be able to have that experience and, like you said, have the visualization on the table. It's absolutely stunning.
I'm happy. It's always a joy for me to hear somebody use our website and enjoy it and find the thing they're looking for. Um, I always tell my guys like the highlight of any day for me is going online and then somebody showing off a mini he designed on our website, even if he's not even mentioning us. Please do, but even if he's not, it's so much fun seeing one of our minis out there and having somebody print it out and put it on the table and use it. It's really the best.
Because you've worked so hard. I mean, just I was reading, we we designed a mini in Eldritch Foundry way before we even started doing this Legends of the Tabletop, before we had even started talking to you and meeting any of you. And it was after your Kickstarter. So I went back and was just looking at your original Kickstarter. What was it, from 2019, I think? And I was kind of looking at the design process and how involved it is. Like, you actually have artists designing each one of these little characters and then drawing them out, and then they go into an animation process or 3D process, and then it's like, then you can print it out. But it's from that beginning concept, which is so incredible and so detailed and involved. And I don't know who else does that in this space, but I have such a huge appreciation for just the artistic ability of just sketching and drawing these concepts. Do you have
Yeah, it's
I mean, are these graphic artists that you work with, are they your friends? Did you just find them and had an appreciation for their craft?
so we've gone through a few phases there. When we started out, we when we started out, we've always felt it was very important to have a concept artist to work from. Both because modelers, 3D modelers specifically, here's a little industry secret. 3D modelers hate solving things. They hate sort of being told, just do it's a pot. How difficult can it be? You don't need concept art for that. And they will shout at you like I do. How thick it is? How thick is it? How deep is it? We don't know. Don't make us solve this. This makes our work harder. Um, so that's one thing. But the other thing is having concept art, having clear concept art helps you sort of have a very clear, again, design philosophy for things. Like when we started out doing way more body types than we currently have, which is a lot. Like how many body morphologies do we have now? We have a bunch. Like our competition has one body type, basically one
Hmm.
skeleton that sits at the base, and that's why their stuff is very interchangeable because everything
Yeah.
sits on the same skeleton.
Yeah.
In a way, that is a very smart thing to do because it makes everything very interchangeable, but in another way, and makes everything very easy and fast to develop. For them to get in a new race, easy. Work on the same skeleton. For us, not so much. We have multiple body morphologies. It
Hmm.
makes life incredibly hard. We think it's worth it. Like when we started out, we had every race, every lineage, every sort of gender type had its own unique body morphology. We've since had to scale it down a bit because otherwise we would just drown in adjustments whenever we put out a new shirt. So we have fewer, but we're still so many. Uh, I think it's over a dozen. Um,
Wow.
Enough to make it complicated.
Yeah.
it's it just slows so it just slows things down.
Yeah.
So we figured out that some body types can be inherited across various races, like the dwarves that we have are, if you look at it, they're also their body type is also like the ogre body type or the half ogre body type. Big chunky guys.
Hmm.
They're just scaled up. The heads are different. The hands are a little bit different, but it's basically that. Um, but it's very important for us to have unique body types. We wanted our dwarves to be dwarvish. We wanted our elves to be elvish. We wanted our humans to be very clearly human, but also this is something we added a few years ago. We also wanted our humans to try and have the capability to move between uh, this will sound terrible, like ethnic not stereotypes, ethnic visuals,
Visuals,
Yeah,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
features. Hmm.
Yeah, like features, that's a word. Sorry, it's late. Um, because a Caucasian man does not look like an a Western African man or a Han Chinese person or none
Absolutely.
of, or
Right.
there's differences there. I think it was a good hit, by the way, on that one. So it was very important for us to work off of concept art. It was very important for us to have a very clear throughput of having sort of our stamp of things, our feel of how the minis should look. Um, in fact, when we started out, I wanted, in retrospect, very dumb. I wanted all our minis to be true scale, completely true scale. Heads the right size, arms the right
Hmm.
size. That is not something you want, by the way, on tabletop minis. Because a true scale sword on a mini on a table looks like a toothpick.
Right.
It looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it,
Yeah.
uh, occasionally we get people who come to our Discord or our messages and are very upset at us that our swords are, for instance, they call them comically big.
Hmm.
Um, because you look at things on a screen, they look weird. Because when you're looking at something on the screen, your mind immediately sort of shifts to how it would look in real
Hmm.
life.
Absolutely.
But we're tabletop first. One of the things that I've always been very clear that is very important to me personally is making sure that people use our minis on the table. They use our minis, they hold them, they play with them. Um, we I want people to have minis that they plonk on the table. Even when I'm playing in a campaign and the DM is very theater of the mind, no minis, which annoys me to no end. I still take out my mini and like put it right
Put
in
it on
front
the
of me.
table.
Yeah, no, we're there are minis here. We may not play with them, but they're here. Um, so yeah.
No,
Get you in your
it is
immersion.
really, yeah, exactly. No, that is really important because I think it's so special to be able to create a mini, whether you want it to look like something in your mind that you've created and goes with your character and your backstory, or whether you're trying to make it look something more like yourself for whatever reason or whatever type of game you're playing in. It's really unique and really special to be able to have all of those features and abilities to create something that is you or your character, and that is definitely something that makes these minis and Eldritch Foundry stand out. I think in this little realm of other companies that print and produce minis. So, what makes yours? I mean, these feel different than other minis that we have and use. Is your printing process different than other companies that produce minis?
Well, A are A we 3D print things.
Mm-hmm.
So everything we do is 3D printed. There's no feasible way to make our minis not 3D printed. Our printing partner, Shop 3D, have this unique resin that they have formulated, which is as close to resin mold miniatures as I've ever seen. One of the reasons that I love working with them is because of that. Again, I love minis, and I have like a bunch of them surrounding my table right now. And one of the things that I really love painting is Forge World, or what was called for, I think it's called Finecast now, whatever
Mm-hmm.
GW is doing right now. Um, and one of the things that I love painting is their resin mold minis, their Forge World minis, and what we produce are our dead standard because I do not believe that if you're buying a custom mini, there should be the option to buy like below
Mm.
Right.
standard
Tiered.
minis. So the one standard we do print is that gray, which is high detail and very close to red to resin
Mm-hmm.
mold minis, which I love. Our color minis, which are printed using Stratasys, I think the printers. I don't recall the exact printer. Their R&D center is like 30 minutes drive for me. And one of the things that we did when we developed color was I would drive over to them once or twice a week, test things, print them out, look how well they come out, then go back and change things so they look better. Um, like they've improved their materials specifically because we've been sitting on their necks for things. They're currently working on developing more durable color resin, most specifically because we've been telling them, listen, it looks great. We've done the color. They're bang on, great. Uh, but they're too brittle.
Mm.
We want them to be more durable.
You're
And
very
I've got a
delicate.
bunch of like, yes, I know. They're all like nobody really has much less delicate color prints out there right now. Um, but in the office, I've got a bunch of honestly bouncy color minis. Uh, the color is slightly off, but they're bouncy. You can toss them down and they just jump. It's funny. The only issue is that they come out, the colors come out way off than what you sort of expect them to
Yeah,
be. Um, but but we're working through it. So hopefully they've promised us that probably by the end of this year we'll move to very durable
that's
color
awesome.
minis that might even be more durable than our gray, which is the most le- the most durable 3D prints I've seen on the commercial market so far. I'm sure things will improve as time
Oh
improves,
yeah,
but as time goes on, but I'm very excited to see what they crank out for us.
I'm
Yeah, we have a
excited.
3D printer here, and I think that was one of the things I loved the most about going to Eldritch Foundry. And if you haven't gone yet, it's eldritch-foundry.com. Go get your personalized custom mini. But we have a we have a 3D
All
printer
the
at
shameless
home,
plugs
and
today.
and I remember doing like my first couple of prints and trying to test out whose resin is the best. And once I got them off the plate, I was happy and excited to play with them. And I would drop them and they would just
Hmm.
shatter. So getting that durability out of a 3D print is really difficult. But I look at the colored prints that we have, and they are not less delicate than the ones I print at home. So you guys are good for now. There are no complaints on my end. And I also don't play with children. So we have like, full-on grown adults that are playing, and we're all very careful with our minis. And then we put them away after we're done playing with them.
Yeah, we have
They're
them in
not
these.
lying around the house, so it they're beautiful. But I'm excited to see what comes up next for you guys.
Oh, me too. So
Yeah,
I mean, in a business, you're always evolving, and we always say here, I mean, we shoot for 1% better. It's usually above that, but like bare minimum, we just try and do better every single time. And, you're working with the quality, although it's already really good, of these minis, but like what other challenge have there been any challenges in this business that have surprised you when you started out? You're like, I know minis, I've been playing TTRPG RPGs forever, but like, whoa, this I didn't expect this.
well, when I started, I figured it would be way easier. Like every so often, you'll get somebody who comes online and says, "Oh, you're just copycats of say Hero Forge or whatever," and you just copied their system and you're running with it and you're basically copycats. And every time I see that, I laugh because when I started this out, I thought, how difficult could this be, right? To set up a system like this. Um, like there's a bunch of um, open source or easily
Hmm.
approachable, like off the shelf solutions for various bits and pieces. You just connect everything and you have a system. And then the basic issue is making sure you have good modelers. That is not true. That is so wrong. So deeply wrong. The system itself it's a beast. There's a reason there's so few companies out there
Mhm.
that do what we do. Mostly because what we have is an animation grade pipeline, which is massively difficult. Building a skeleton, the rig, is one thing. Building the models that sit on the skeleton is a second thing. But then you need to have a pipeline that channels everything from the modeler's 3D software into something that can connect everything, understand where everything is sitting, and then be able to have all those permutations.
Hmm.
And having a human, a biological looking model that deforms in a way that doesn't look bad to the human eye is massively difficult. We humans have this inherent ability to look at a biological form, and if it bends wrong, we immediately spot it. So having that be able to move like an arm
Hmm.
just bending, you can very easily see when it's bending not in a way that seems right or like the flesh folds in a way that seems weird. That is very difficult. Then you need to connect all of that to a website, and that is another thing. And you want the website to look good. So that is another thing, and you need it to be easily accessible. And we've gone through several iterations of having various UI implementations. Um, our older users will remember that we had these arches,
Mm.
very game-like arches, which are an absolute nightmare to manage, especially across multiple resolutions. Um, so it's a very difficult thing to set up. We've been asked like multiple times, like, why don't you patent this? And like, there is literally no reason to patent this. Nobody, nobody is dumb enough to try this again. If anything, somebody will just buy us out. It's
Yeah.
it is it is so hard. Um, I think I answered the question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you
I went
did.
off on a
No,
tangent.
you did. I said, what are the challenges? And you said, oh,
Oh,
how can this be so difficult? And then you got into it, and then there's all these reasons
sorry.
why it's so difficult. But with
Yeah.
all of those
I'm going to
difficulties, and
interject really quick
yeah,
because I just wanted to say it's funny that you say that. It's like people will immediately say you're just ripping off the next
mm,
guy, and people say that with me with Critical Role all the
yeah,
time. They're like, you're a ripoff of Critical Role, and I'm like, listen, I wish I was a ripoff of Critical Role. But the things that are inherently difficult about any project you think are very easy. Like, oh, we can just start a YouTube channel and play D&D in front of people, and it's not hard. And then you get into it and you're like, I don't know why I ever thought that this was gonna be fun.
It is it is so hard. Every time you try something, you figure out why
hmm
there's so few that do this and
Yeah.
do it well.
Yep.
It's so hard. And one of the things that I always say about the copycat thing is, well, obviously every custom miniature will be compared to the OG one. And Hero Forge have an amazing system. I'm not going to take it away from them. But in the same vein, Games Workshop is the biggest miniature company out there. They're huge. They
hmm
cover the gamut from fantasy to sci-fi, and I love their minis. I buy Games Workshop, and I do not play Warhammer. I just love painting the minis. But I also love Steam Forged minis,
mm,
right? I bought the Pirate Cove, Animal Cove, whatever they call it, so I can paint them with my kids, and I love that. And I've bought what else? And every time I see a cool mini, I often buy them. I've even bought busts, and I hate painting busts. I
Mhm.
don't know why I bought them, but I wanted to. And like in the same vein that Games Workshop exists, Steamforged also exists, but also WizKids and
Yep.
Kingdom Death,
Yep.
and they each have their own thing,
Yep.
mm,
and they each have their own style, and they each have their own niche. And especially in a hobby market, especially in something that is so personal to us, design matters, and design matters a lot. Like, sure, you can buy your generic human fighter from WizKids, and it's great.
Yes.
He's great.
Yep.
But maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want something else. Maybe you want something that looks bigger or more mature or
mhm.
more adult. If you want like super pinup stuff, go to Kingdom Death.
Yeah.
I don't like their style, but some people do, and it's great.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's one of those things. Is in this market, in this area, especially in something that is so deeply important to us, um, every design choice is has to be taken sort of very clearly and
hmm
thought out of. You don't just run into it. You can't just make a mini. It doesn't work. It's why we have a concept artist, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's exactly that.
I think you have to go all in to whatever you're doing and do it to the best of your ability. And, you were saying like there are other companies that make minis. There are a lot of other people that have a D&D campaign on YouTube like we do. A lot of people do it way better than we do. But we, I mean, when we started out, we had no idea what we were getting into. Our friend had a studio. He was phenomenal with doing all AV lighting, everything. Producer, incredible. We decided to do this, and Jonathan had to learn so many different things. He had to learn Da Vinci. He had never used Da Vinci before. I have a background in design and art, and I hadn't used it for a long time, and I had to get back in that. And we had no idea what we were doing, but fortunately, there are there are us, doing this Legends of the Tabletop. There are other channels. Everyone, if they don't like us, they can go look at someone else. If they don't like someone else, they can come see us. And it's like you have a very specific thing that you're doing with your minis, which are incredible, and I love them. But like you were
Yeah.
saying, this is your business, and there's still some other minis that you like for other reasons. And I think that's a really cool thing in this niche that we're all in gaming. There is so much saturation in the market, but that allows for people to choose something very specific for their table or for what their interests are. And I think that's a really cool, special thing to have with our businesses.
Yeah, I mean, and often when somebody comes to us and says like, I don't like your designs, I don't get offended by this.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, I used to love Critical Role, and I sort of got slightly tired by their format. For me, it's too long. I'm getting old, and I cannot sit through a 4 hour show. But I fall in love with other live plays,
Yeah.
and not necessarily live plays or short form. There are so many ways to sort of keep your love alive in this area that you do not have to sort of go all in
Hmm.
on one creed. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just old and getting sort of
Crotchety.
cynical about life. Maybe that's the word. Uh,
That's a
but
technical
like,
term for it, and if you were wondering. Yeah.
it's kind of like how when I was younger, when I would buy a book and I would force my I would read this book. If
Yeah.
I bought a book, I will have to finish it, even if I hated it. Nowadays, it's like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm putting it away, and I'm
Hmm.
never picking it up again. It's not for me,
Hmm.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you, I mean, with businesses, and Jonathan, I, understand this from what we're doing here, but you have days where you're just like, whew, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? But what are the moments when you're like, wow, I enjoy this. This is what brings me so much enjoyment. This is what makes me want to continue on. What are those moments for you with Eldritch Foundry?
I think there are two sort of major ones. One is when I'm just randomly like on Reddit or on Twitter, or it's no longer Twitter, the Blue Sky. That's the new one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Uh, it's pretty much the same thing, just
Or
less
yeah,
terrible.
X Blue Sky.
Um,
Right, exactly.
right. Um, whenever I'm on those things, sorry. Um, so whenever I'm on one of those websites and I see a mini and it takes me a second. I'm like, is that? I recognize that sword or recognize that pole arm, and that's one of ours. And it's always something that I love seeing. It makes me stupidly happy to see one of our minis in the wild, especially when it takes me like a hot second to figure it out. Because one of our sort of design precepts is that we wanted to have our minis be feel like sort of custom sculpted minis. Um, so it's always great to be able to see that in the wild. That's like one of my ongoing highlights. The second one is we're when we're working towards like a new feature, uh, and when we just initially release it and it's stable and it's working. Like we're working on something pretty cool right now that we'll unveil at Gen Con. It's in closed beta. Um, And so far, every time I've opened it up and played with it, I've just had so much joy with it. Um, it's one of those things. It's a niche product. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's gonna love it. I get it, but it also such a joy seeing something that you've worked on work and it's fun to play with. Um, so yeah,
That's exciting. I can't wait.
yeah. It's very cool. It's very cool. Even people who won't necessarily actually end up buying these products will probably enjoy playing with them.
That's really exciting. So you'll be at Gen Con, which is fantastic. I love cons. We've gone to quite a few PAX events, and I think we obviously knew of Eldritch Foundry and purchased your minis before, but last year, 2024, we went to PAX East, and I was like, we have to go see Eldritch Foundry. And we met with everyone that was at your table. They were so awesome, so excited to show us these new full color minis. They had them in the display case, and we were blown away. We were taking photos. We took photos with Sam. Like, we were just so excited. We are like, we need this on our table. And I think one of the common, a comment that we hear a lot in this space is how much fun those cons are to talk to people, to be like on the floor and connect with people. I don't know if you've gone to cons yourself with Eldritch Foundry, but if you have, what is that energy when people see your minis for the first time or see the full color minis? Like that has to just like pump you up and give you a ton of, excitement to continue on and create these incredible products.
So I've been to cons several times. I usually try to make at least Gen Con. I really wanted to be at Adepticon at least once,
Yeah.
mostly because I really want to see Golden Demon. Generally, I don't love cons. It's too crowded for me. But I do love meeting folks that love Eldritch Foundry. I do love meeting folks that see us for the first time.
Hmm.
Um, and it's always a joy to see people sort of come to the booth and play with the system and pick up the minis and get excited about the actual physical representations of things and not just sort of the screen. But it's also
Hmm.
like one of my best memories is from I think Gen Con 22 or 23. There was this awesome lady who came up. She never even talked to us. She just came up, played on Eldritch, played on the designer for I think an hour and a half. She was just there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, for an entire hour and a half, and she just cackled throughout, enjoyed herself to no end. Sometimes I was like looking over her shoulder. She was making this hippo person in a tutu, and she was just
Okay.
having the time of her life,
oh
and
my
it
God.
was so much fun to see. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
think we even like yeah, I think we even like gave her like a gift card. Like, you know what? You enjoyed it so
Yeah.
much. Just order the thing. Have fun.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
we've spent lots of time
Oh
on
yeah.
Eldritch Foundry just making the most ridiculously wild characters. You start out with the mini you're making, and then you're like, what if I add this? And what if they're wearing that? And how can I change this? But an hour and a half at a con, that's intense.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to have seen that mini. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Oh, oh man, I think I can find it, but it'll take me a hot minute.
Put
Send
it
us
in the
it
Discord.
later, and we can. Yeah, we'll add it.
I need to find it, but I do like I vividly remember what that mini came out to
That
be. I
had
don't remember that lady.
uh, Yeah, but I mean, for you, that had to be one of those moments you're like, this is why all of these challenges and why am I doing this? And this is so difficult. This right here is why all of that, why I've gone through all of that. And
Yeah,
that doesn't matter right now because this woman is enjoying it. And if she's enjoying it, there has to be other people that do as well.
yeah. It's absolutely that. Like I think I said this before. Like at the end of the day, it's people having fun
Hmm.
and obviously like we're not selling insulin, nobody will
Mhm.
die if we
Right.
don't provide and if we don't give them exactly what they need or want, but we can make stuff that just makes people's lives just slightly more fun.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
and it's and I feel like it's something that we all deeply need, especially where uh, like in this worst of timelines, it is something that is very
Hmm.
needed for everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons, there's a lot of talk about RPGs and that whole space kind of transitioning into more online and electronic. But I think part of the beauty of playing RPG games, TTRPG games, is having that connection with other people, having that escapism, having those few hours to just play with your friends and have everything else just fade to the background, and you're just in a whole new world of fun and magic and fantasy and laughing and hanging out with your friends. And if it's a colored mini, if it's really cool terrain, if it's the DM crafting this incredible story, all of that just adds to that time and that little encapsulated moment that you get to escape from everything.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, at the end of the day, like there is nothing more fun than being able to meet up with your friends on a Saturday evening, just sitting down for like 3 to 4 hours and just doing the dumbest thing possible in like the most serious setting that your TM can imagine. Like, like we played Curse of Strahd and it like obviously deteriorated into like a Benny Hill scheme at the end of things. Pretty much
Do
that,
you
yes.
do you
Yes.
uh do you DM or do you usually just play?
I usually play, but whenever I feel like the DM sort of burns out, there's a bunch of one shots that I sort of I earmark every time I
Yeah.
see one, and I do love DMing whenever I get the chance. Our DM was very much so he likes to complain that he's the forever DM, but whenever it's like, all right, we can I can do the next campaign, it's like no, I
Yeah,
no,
no,
this
no,
is
they're
my
the
job.
DM. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like but
only their job, and they're cursed with it, but they love it.
yeah, it's like, but you can play. We want you to play. Like, no, never. Okay, dude.
I
Yeah.
I am probably a forever player. I don't have any desire to DM. I love playing. Jonathan does both.
It it's fun at times. It's fun, especially if you have like a one shot that you know is like 1 or 2 meetings. You can go absolutely wild and
Yeah,
have the craziest things to let them do. It's just fun.
Agreed.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like we have Alex, who is our dedicated DM right now. But when I do DM, they are all one shots, and my players are like, "You let anything happen." I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's no consequences for the actions in a one shot. In a campaign, things are like very, very, hey, you did this thing. It's going to affect you, 6 weeks down the road. My tables, it's like, meh, burn the town down. Doesn't matter."
Yeah, yeah, sure. I played I think I played one time a warlock that was masquerading as as a gunslinger. Uh, he had a gun, no ammo, and all of the Eldritch Blast stuff that makes it fire far away.
Oh,
He would just shout bang whenever you whenever he threw it. He's aiming and he's shooting. It was like, and everyone's like, "We can see you're not firing anything." Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God. All of those things are
You get
what make it so absolutely amazing and so much fun to play because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's one of those characters that's only for a one shot. That would get old so fast.
Yeah, I think was it the Star Wars campaign that we did, Jonathan, where my character was terrible. Basically like the skills of a stormtrooper to like shoot things. And the running joke
yeah.
was that one of my blasters was made out of wood. So I would try and aim and then roll terribly and of course miss and it was like, "Oh, sorry, that's my wooden blaster."
Oops.
Oops, my
Wrong
bad.
one.
Wrong one. Wrong one. Sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
well, Matt, I just want to say how much Jonathan and I absolutely appreciate you taking some time to talk to us today.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed our conversation with you, and we love Eldritch Foundry and are honored to be able to use your minis in our campaign for our silly little characters in our world of Arabelle. But before we wrap up, I have some rapid fire questions that we do at the end of all of our podcasts. They're kind of silly, nothing too serious. So if you don't mind, I have a few more questions that we're going to ask you.
Sure. Hit me.
Okay. What is your most used emoji?
The either the facepalm or the shrug emoji.
Good. I love it. Um, is there a movie or TV series that you could just watch again and again and again?
So movie, it's The Martian. I love it. It's an absolute
Oh yeah.
banger of a movie. Um, and a series, it's Taskmaster. I keep watching and rewatching it. It's on YouTube. It's the dumbest thing you'll ever see. It's just pure joy.
We'll
Pure
have
joy.
we'll have to check that out. Let's see what else. Favorite snack or beverage for your sessions, for your D&D sessions?
I, I'd like to say that I am not addicted, but I am deeply addicted to Coke Zero. Uh, so it's always that. It's always I every so often I try to sort of break that addiction. I manage like 2 weeks and then I fall right back into the bucket.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. If you could create your very own D&D character using Eldritch Foundry, what would it be? Class, race, quirk included?
I have created every single character I've played in the past 5 years on Eldritch Foundry, and honestly, at any given moment, I have 3 or 4 like backup characters. I'm one of those players who like I get bored of characters,
Yeah.
and I
Mm.
increasingly put them in more and more suicidal positions the more I want them to be replaced. So, I, I don't know. Currently, what was the last one I played? Uh, um, a way of not was it the way of 4 elements? I forget the name of the subclass. It's the subclass that fires fireballs, the monk fireball class.
Okay.
And I styled it as a Molotov cocktail throwing monk. Uh,
Nice.
like
Yeah.
a revolutionary in Curse of Strahd. So yeah,
So
Curse
cool.
of Strahd. That's awesome. Um,
yeah.
all right, well, that wraps up another episode here of The Parking Lot. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Legends of the Tabletop and subscribe, turn those notifications on so that you can be the first to know when new podcasts come out, when new videos drop on our YouTube channel. And also, don't forget to head over to eldritch-foundry.com to build your own very own custom full-colored mini with all of the things. You can use code cheesebags15 to save 15% on your order, and that is eldritch-foundry.com. Matt, thank you so much again. It has been an honor to talk to you. It was a great conversation, and I hope you and your family have a good rest of your Sunday night.
Right. Thank you for having me, guys.
Of course, we appreciate
Our
it.
pleasure.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cool.
Stay
All right.
legendary, everyone. Good night, Matt.
All right. Bye. Good night.